Welcome to Swinger University, the podcast that explores the exciting and often misunderstood world of open relationships. I'm Ed.
And I'm Phoebe.
And together we'll be your guides as we blend sex education and sensual exploration with an intellectual twist.
If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to smash the like, share, and subscribe buttons and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on our latest steamy episodes. You should also check out the podcast because we have extra sexy content that you will get here on YouTube.
Today's listener question is about genital piercings, specifically the Prince Albert. Ed, you've mentioned having a Prince Albert. What is that like, and does it feel good? Well, today you get to find out all about my Prince Albert and much more.
Follow us on YouTube, TikTok, and social media. You can find all our links on swingeruniversity.com.
We love getting questions from our audience, and you can leave us a voicemail at 916-538-0482 or contact us at swingeruniversity.com. Tell us your name, your age, and where you live, or you can be anonymous.
If you're a super fan of our show, consider supporting us on Patreon. As a member, you'll have access to exclusive content that's even hotter than what we share on the podcast. So come join our naughty community. We promise you won't regret it.
So what is a Prince Albert or a PA? Well, there's lots of genital piercings. I don't want to talk about the other ones. I'm going to talk specifically about the Prince Albert. If you want to know more about other piercings, the internet's an amazing place. The Prince Albert is a piercing that goes through the urethra and down through the bottom of the penis. So there's a hole basically in the bottom of your penis up into the urethral canal. Now there's a reverse Prince Albert, which does the same thing, but it goes up through the top, through the meatier part of the penis. So a regular Prince Albert goes through the thinner skin down on the bottom. There's lots of different urban legends about where this came from, why it was named after Prince Albert. And Prince Albert, for those of you who don't know, was the prince at the time of Queen Victoria, so quite a while ago. Urban legends, which have been mostly debunked. Some people thought that it was a chastity device. You could kind of restrain the penis by tying it out of the way so that it couldn't be used, or chaining it, restraining it in some way. And then the other belief was that it held the foreskin back, so for better hygiene. Most scholars have debunked a lot of that and believe that it's mostly because Prince Albert wore really tight pants that were fashionable at the time, and he wanted to be able to tie his penis down one leg, the leg that was his preferred fashion side. It was almost entirely for aesthetic or fashion reasons for having the piercing.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So what are the benefits for getting one?
Well, you get added stimulation through the hole and through the urethra on the shaft of the penis, and your partner gets little beads that rub on the insides of their parts. So if it's a vagina, then it could rub on the clit, or when it's going in, or on the G-spot. And we don't know much about anal play with beads, right? But we are curious for anybody who plays anally with a Prince Albert, if they can let us know what that's like.
Yeah. Do you even wear one for that
right
type of play? And if you do, what does it feel like?
Exactly. So call us or email us, let us know.
Exactly.
I will say that certain positions work better. So for example, a traditional PA, the bead would be out the bottom, the ring would kind of hang down, which would mean positions like doggy, where your partner's facing away from you for vaginal penetration, would be better because the bead would rub on the G-spot and kind of all of those anterior nerves. But if you had a reverse PA, then flip her over and the G-spot and everything's up on the top where the ball is. So different positions it's going to feel different. And some of them are going to be better than others for the piercing. It's visually appealing.
I agree. It's my favorite, one of my favorite visual piercings.
Yeah. It stands out when you're walking around naked. This kind of a fishing lure is dangling around on the front, and it does draw attention.
Yeah, it's shiny, it's sparkly. It glints.
And
let's just say that.
And it's unusual too. People
Yes.
see it and go, what is going on? And they have to get really close.
Yeah, or touch it.
You can get different rings and bent barbells for different visual appeal. I'll hold them up here and I'll show you close-ups of them. So you can get something that's, like a bent barbell, which is more like a ring shape, or a slightly less bent barbell, which doesn't dangle as much. It's kind of more tucked up.
Right. Really, only the ball ends show.
Yeah.
Outside the skin, and the bar itself is hidden inside.
And then this is another one. This one's kind of fun. This is a captured segment ring, and this one's very smooth and very streamlined, and then you don't get the balls in the way.
Right.
Kind of tucks everything up out of the way, and it's, like I said, it's very, very smooth.
And you use a special tool for that one.
Yeah, and you have to use pliers, reverse pliers, to get those on and off. There's also wands that you can get. So if you're into sounding and inserting things inside the urethra for urethral play, you can get basically a rod, a stainless steel rod with a bead on the bottom of it. So you basically feed this thing inside the penis, and then you thread the rod in, and then that sounding rod is stuck inside. It's not going to slide out. So you would wear it for an extended period of time.
So you would have to have this piercing in order for that particular sounding rod to work.
Correct.
Because it doesn't come out the end of the penis. It comes out the urethra down below.
Yes, that extra bead is intentionally designed to kind of intersect with that hole and lock it in place.
Fascinating. So many questions. So many questions.
Very...
That's another time.
That's a whole other thing. And I haven't actually played with any kind of sounding stuff. Let's talk about the procedure a little bit in terms of like what it felt like to get it done and the healing. It's pretty quick. It usually takes anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks if you heal quickly. Sometimes it can take longer. It can take up to 8 weeks. So depending on how quickly you heal, genitals heal very quickly in general, but different people heal at different rates. So be prepared to be basically out of commission for up to 8 weeks. Yikes. Can't have sex while you're healing. The extra pressure and tearing will irritate the skin. It won't heal properly. It'll get infected. Bad things happen. Just don't do it. Just wait. There'll be plenty of time to play with it later. Cleaning it on a pretty regular basis while it's healing. And you'll probably start with a smaller gauge piercing and then stretch up to a larger gauge. And I'll talk a little bit about that with my experience.
What are the downsides for somebody that is considering this?
Some partners don't even notice that you have the ring in.
Yeah, that's me. Well, I notice it. It's just not pleasurable.
Either your partner won't notice or it might annoy them. So that's one downside. Teeth and jewelry. So banging a stainless steel ring on your teeth, that's bad. And if you've got expensive dental work, ceramic crowns.
Or retainers, permanent retainers on the inside of your mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a bad combination.
Maybe you have
for
a
things.
small mouth. Maybe your partner's very large. It's challenging.
It can happen, I have heard. The most obvious thing, it can hurt having a stainless steel needle forced through the skin in your penis.
Right. But they numb for that stuff, don't they?
Some piercers do and some don't. Mine did.
Wait, what piercer wouldn't give you the option, though? You'd think ethically they have to give you the option.
I know that there are some piercers who are purists, and it's all about the experience and the endorphin rush of having a piercing done.
Right.
It's a very quick procedure. It's a single hole, zip, zap, zoom, wang. They knock the spike through and they push the ring through, and then it's just healing time.
You said it was a smaller ring, so than the one that you have. Now, the ring that they put in, is that thick enough to heal and not push out?
So I got pierced, if I remember right, with a 10 gauge hoop, which is a pretty substantial hoop. I mean, this isn't like a hoop earring. Another aspect of that is the diameter of the ring. So depending on the shape of your penis and the size of your head, the ring size, diameter wise, changes because it's a particular curve to fit properly.
Oh.
Which is a whole other thing in terms of like buying jewelry. You've got to get the right size.
So what are you doing? Laying your dick up on top of the jewelry counter trying to match the bar to the size of the shape of your penis? How are you supposed to?
The piercer will help you figure that out. Yeah.
But you got to see the dick.
Guaranteed, the piercer will see your penis when they're piercing you. They're not going to do it blindfolded.
They look at it.
Thank God.
You go in, you say, I want the bar, and then they have their little tray of lengths and angles. And so when they're looking at your penis, then they realize which one that's going to work the best.
And they'll probably use calipers and measure and get you the right size.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So where I was going was when you get your ears pierced, you get pierced a size larger until they heal because the ears shrink a little bit.
Right.
And then your normal earring is smaller gauge.
Yeah. So,
but this is different.
Is the opposite. So what they do, especially with softer tissue, is they pierce with a smaller needle and then they push a slightly larger ring through so that the ring puts pressure on the skin and basically seals the wound. So you don't bleed as much. So if they use the same size, it would be kind of a rough fit, a sloppy fit, and the jewelry wouldn't basically seal up that edge. So it kind of works like a suction cup, right? That open skin on that smooth stainless steel surface.
Right. Otherwise, they'd have a hard time stopping the bleeding.
Yeah. And you don't want random bleeding from that particular part of your body. There's a lot of blood flow down there. Right. And that would be bad.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wait, I have one more question.
Certainly.
So you've got it pierced. It's sealing off the blood. At what point do you get to spin it? Because at some point you have to spin it to clean it.
Yeah. So as it heals, the little scab kind of forms, the tissue gets stuck to the ring.
That's gotta hurt.
That's why when you get in the shower, you let the warm water run over everything. It loosens up that tissue and you can move the ring around a little bit. And you want to keep it moving so that it doesn't crust up, because if you tear that really hurts.
Got it. So, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the cleaning solution that they'll provide for you, or that'll be in the aftercare kit, will also help with that too. Kind of loosens up the tissue and lets things slide around.
All right, what's the other downside to
this? It's a surgical procedure. It's a needle through a part of your body that has a lot of nerve endings. There's a possibility that you do nerve damage. So if you talk to some women who've had breast augmentation, you can have some nerve damage and you lose sensation in your nipples. Well, you might actually lose sensation in your penis. Thankfully, that did not happen with my piercing. Probably the quality of the piercer that I got my piercing from, but also the location and probably some genetics in terms of where the nerves were running at the time. There's always an increased risk of infections. You now have another hole. It's not normal. So there's another place for infections to occur, especially when it's healing, or if there's damage to that. So if you've been extra vigorous and you tear a little bit, you could hurt it and introduce an infection there. And this is the real big one in terms of infections. The rings are not as friendly towards condoms. So if you're wearing condoms in the lifestyle, the ring may actually damage the condom and cause it to break, which opens you up to STIs. So,
right.
Something to be cautious of, something to be extra careful with watching the condoms to make sure that they don't break.
Right. What about rejection, UTIs?
Yep, all of that too. You got a foreign object, you've got bacteria that's being introduced. If you don't clean it thoroughly or regularly, there's always a chance to get bacteria up there, and that's not good.
How often do people's bodies reject the piercing? If it's done right, shouldn't it not reject the piercing?
I think it really depends on your genetic makeup, your anatomy. I know of a number of people who've had facial piercings that migrate out. I know people who've had nipple piercings that have been rejected or migrate out. It's 100% how your body deals with foreign objects. Mine's been fine. I've not had any problems with my piercings. Although my nipple piercings used to get infected pretty regularly, which is why I don't have them anymore. And but the Prince Albert's been great in terms of
you've never had
healing and infections. No, I've never had an infection at all.
What about jewelry collisions or entanglements? What the heck is that?
Yeah, so if you're a person who likes piercings, you may have a partner who also likes piercings, and having piercings get tangled up together. Mouth piercings. And Prince Albert piercings or genital piercings getting tangled up. It can happen. You've got rings that are
touching other rings,
and be careful because you don't want to tear a ring out or hurt something. So
no rough play typically with genital piercings.
Yeah. And or play that way, but expect that there may be consequences for that. And as we talked about with the teeth, that's another type of jewelry collision that can happen.
Right.
And you just need to be careful.
So what's your number one downside for you personally?
Yeah. Okay. This one's a little funny. Gentlemen, you may have to learn to sit down more frequently. So
to pee.
You've basically punched an extra urethra in the bottom of your penis. So you now have a leaky rowboat. With the jewelry in, you'll get the stream out the front and you'll get a dribble out the bottom. So you got to make sure that you're standing over the bowl. If you don't have your ring in, sometimes it will be more than a dribble out the bottom.
My God.
And it can be quite messy. And I don't have to get into the graphic details, but it can be all over the place. So be prepared to clean up after yourself or just sit down.
That way it's not like literally it's getting on your thighs and your feet, the kind of messy.
It can, on your shoes, on the bowl, on the floor. Yeah.
Okay.
It dribbles everywhere because it's not a steady stream.
That's a big downside for me, I would say.
Well, as an example, I mean, you pee in the woods. And it's not a controllable stream. It just kind of comes out. It's exactly like that.
Yeah. Sometimes I pee on my feet. Sometimes I pee on my pants.
Because you can't really, it's not a controllable stream. So that amazing skill that men have to stand 2 feet from a toilet bowl and just hit the bowl, you are compromising that accuracy.
Interesting.
You will not be a sharpshooter anymore.
And even when you take it out, that hole after, I mean, you could not have a piercing in for years. The hole is somewhat closed, but it's not sealed. And you will still have.
Yeah, that's true for me. I don't know if that's true for everybody. I know with some people, like their earrings will close up.
Yeah.
I've gone years without putting jewelry in my Prince Albert, and it has not closed up. I can still put a 10 gauge in there, and then within 24 hours, it'll stretch out enough to be able to put the 6 gauge back in. And
interesting.
It just just stays open. Now, for the most part, the dribbling part, if I haven't had jewelry in for a long time, isn't a thing. But every once in a while, it'll surprise you, and you will have to clean up.
Oh my God.
So yeah.
Okay, so let's get into, you've made this decision, right? You want to do it.
Yes.
And how do you go about finding the right piercer?
Yeah.
Is it pretty easy nowadays, or what?
There's probably more piercers than when I had first done it. I think getting piercings was pretty new at the time. I'm sure it's been around for a long time, but they weren't as commonplace. There's piercers all over the place and tattoo shops all over the place.
I don't think people wore gloves when I was getting tattoos. I don't even know if they're cleaning their machines. They do now. Talked about, but
yeah,
that
was bad.
There was really no restrictions, rules. That
is some country craziness right there.
So now pretty much when you walk into any piercing or tattoo shop, they're very clean. They got the little trays, like the gloves, they've got the swabs and the
and that's one of the important things to look at is if you go into a shop, you're going to interview the piercer, you're going to talk to them about how long they've been doing it, how long have they been in business, are all their licenses up to date? They should have their license posted. There's health inspections that are done pretty regularly, and check their reputation online. Almost every shop is in Yelp, and you'll be able to read reviews and see how reputable they are and what, in general, what people's expectations were and whether they were met.
Yeah.
And like I said, cleanliness is really important, especially with something like this. You do not want it to get infected. You don't want it to be done improperly. So yeah, check out the shop.
And ask around. Ask your friends or your buddies.
Absolutely. You'll also want to get the rundown on cost from them. How much is it? How much is the jewelry and the service to get the piercing done? What are their recommendations for healing, for length of time, aftercare, the size of the jewelry that you should start with, and also the recommended final size. Have a conversation with them. How big do you want the jewelry to be when it's all healed up and you're prancing around with your shiny new Prince Albert?
Right. So before we go into your story and why you decided to wake up one day and go, I think I want to shove a hole in my penis. I will say my experience with the Prince Albert, which is with you because I'd never had that experience with anybody else, was okay. Okay to like not okay. Okay to somewhat uncomfortable, depending on which jewelry you put in.
Right.
It didn't offer me any extra clitoral stimulation or G-spot stimulation. It didn't turn on bells or whistles for me. What the annoying part was the hardness of mostly the horseshoe, I believe, because it's very heavy and it's larger.
Yeah.
It if you like a glass dildo, that you would probably like the horseshoe piercing.
Right. I
don't like it. It's too hard for me. But if you like that, you might really enjoy that. So again, it really depends on the person and what their body likes. Right. What their nerve endings are like.
Now I'll say it's quite the ordeal to go through to just try it out to see if you'll like it. But that's about as good as it gets. Or you find somebody who has the piercing to be able to try it out and you go, oh, honey, you should get one of these because it's fabulous.
Right.
But then is he going to like it? Who knows?
Okay. So you're in your 20s and you magically wake up one day and go, I'm going to shove a hole in my penis.
I was going through a phase where body modification was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
My partner at the time had tattoos. I wanted to get my ears pierced, and I actually got my nipples pierced before I got my ears pierced, which is hilarious.
Interesting.
And did the nipples, and then I decided that I wanted to get a Prince Albert, and I did it because I was nervous about getting a permanent tattoo, and I knew I could take the jewelry out.
Mm.
In general, that's why I went the piercing route instead of the tattoos.
And it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper, right?
Much cheaper.
And it takes 20 minutes to get it done versus hours sitting in a chair.
Yes.
Like it's
so less painful, less.
It's like super fast, super
True.
easy. And honestly, I'd hoped it would feel really good. I'm like, oh, extra stimulation on the penis? Okay, I'll try that. I just heard that it was going to be magical and sex was going to feel better. So I said, all right, I'll give it a try. I mean, theoretically, it's stimulating all the nerves in that part of the penis, and it makes sense. And it does. I mean, there is increased sensation. It's just different than what I'd expected.
So like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how much increased sensation?
It's different kind of sensation. So I'll say it that way. I wouldn't say it increased it to the point of it's easier to orgasm or it's, puts me over the top. It's just a different kind of sensation.
Got it.
It feels different. Kind of like you have different kinds of orgasms. You have different kinds of orgasms with a Prince Albert.
So you could have just asked someone to give you a hand job with a calfskin glove versus a rawhide glove, and you would have had 2 different kinds of stimulation.
Yeah, but also that would have still been different. And I think at the time, it sounded like a good idea.
That's true. And with it being popular at the time, I could see how that was a thing.
And for me, they used a little bit of lidocaine. It didn't hurt that much getting it done. It healed relatively quickly for me. And like I said, I liked the look of it too. That was the other appeal that I found of it. It was pretty cool.
So, if you could go back in time, would you do that again?
Well, I'm not sure I would. I'm not sure I'd do it again for the peeing reason, but also just it didn't do for me or my partners what I had expected it to do. I expected more bang for it. And, none of my partners have been, over the moon about it. They've never just raved about it. It's never been a thing.
Right.
So yeah, no extra orgasms, nothing fancy, no. Oh,
right.
It does add a little extra stimulation, but that comes with some irritation and sometimes some pain. And especially when the barbell slides up the urethra and you get a ball up your urethra and then the little thing is dangling on the bottom, it can really leverage on that hole and it can hurt.
Oh,
it can really hurt. Now, you can help with that a little bit by wearing a condom, which kind of keeps the jewelry tucked in.
Right.
But it also kind of tucks it in and you're wearing it with a condom. So if you're playing with your primary partner or you play bareback, that condom is not what you're in it for. So not the best deal.
We just need our listeners that have different types of jewelry. A Prince Albert hole,
sure,
with maybe different type of jewelry that will fit that type of piercing, to email us, call us, whatever, and let us know if there's something different that we haven't seen that is pleasurable for them and their partner. Because I'm open to trying other things. Maybe there's something, a softer material or a
different shape.
Different shape.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, so if you do know of a type of jewelry or a particular attachment that works really well for you and your partner, let us know. I'd love to hear about it. I'd be down to buy some jewelry and give it a shot.
Me too. I like experimenting.
So after hearing all this, and you're still considering a Prince Albert, do your own research, especially for a piercer. And consider the pros and cons and how they match up with your play style. This piercing is not for everyone, but it may be just what you're looking for.
Be sure to tune in for our next episodes where we will be in Costa Rica during our lifestyle resort takeover. You won't want to miss all the excitement, especially if you aren't going to be with us.
Thanks for tuning in to Swinger University. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.